Session of the Harnett County Board of Commissioners. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask Commissioner Barb McCoy to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us bow our heads, please. Our Father, we come before you this morning, just thanking you for the many blessings and the mercy and grace that you have given us. We ask that you continue to bless us. Give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the patience to make the right decision for our county of Harnett County and for the citizens here of Harnett County. This is my prayer. In my name we pray. Amen.
Ma'am. At this time, I will consider any additions and deletions to the published agenda,
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
as long as there isn't any no changes. We'll go ahead and move forward with the agenda. Update on Children, Youth, and Families at Risk grant that provides science, technology, engineering, and mathematics programming. Mr. Tim Matthews, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing us to be here this morning to provide you with an informational update on the Children, Youth, and Families at Risk program. This program is provided through a USDA grant that was applied for and received by NC State and NC A&T University. And it is to provide STEM education in the classroom. They hired Daphne Covington to run this program, and so she is located in our office, but all the funds come through, all the funds for this position are through the university. So at this time, I'd just like to turn it over to her and let her give you a report.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. As he said, my name is Daphne Covington. I am the SAFAR STEM coordinator for Harnett County. I just want to take a few minutes to let you know what's going on in your county. I was very nervous, but that prayer helped, so thank you for that. On the screen, I'll go through the screen as I go through it. As he said, this is a grant that NC State, NC A&T and NC State, they pay for everything. This does not cost the county any expenses. We provide everything for the children, laptops, iPads, telescopes, anything they need. This is something that does not bring any more work in on the teachers, which is the biggest thing that I had when meeting with the principals. We don't want to put any more work on the teachers. It actually brings more revenue into the school because there's less money they have to spend. Everything is aligned with the North Carolina training for the teachers. We provide for our goals is to increase STEM coursework during high school, increase positive attitudes about science, increase science content knowledge, and increase the self-efficiency in teaching the STEM and sustainability. For me, over Harnett County and Bladen County, there are 4 counties under the grant, Anson and Hamlet County, which is through Dr. Katie. This is just a couple of slides to show you first that we provide the teaching and the training for the teachers first. They have to come to training. This is our Power of Wind, robotics, shooting for the stars, and it's for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Excuse me, I'm a little nervous, so y'all just bear with me. For the program, we have, we hired, we implemented, we met, collected data. The data that you see, we do data for the teachers first, and they will do a pre-test and a post-test. We want to find out what they think about the program before training, and then they do a post-test to find out what they think about the program after training. And here you'll see where the teachers, they need to know increase student interest. It increased 7%. When it was difficult for understanding before they went to training, increased by 6%. When teaching about experiential learning process, increased by 6%. And to increase the student interest, increased by 7% after training. This is your SIFAR common measure data that we have for, again, all 4 counties, but we're just going to focus on Harnett County, increased by 41% after the training was over for this past school semester. So that is an awesome thing, and I am so glad to be a part of this because some of these kids will never, ever get to experience robotics training. For for Harnett County, they do have a Lego team, which was there before we came into it, but we want to do the beginners. We don't allow anybody to be on the team that has already been a part of the Lego team at the school because we don't feel it's fair for the kids. We also, at the end of this, for the kids after they learn, we pay for a trip to take them to North Carolina A&T so they can get to have a full experience of what robotics means and maybe even have careers in robotics and see all the things that robotics can lead to. For our sustainability, as I said, we supply school supplies, iPads. We spent $10,000 per school bringing in everything they need for the science curriculum. Nothing comes out of pocket from the county or the schools. I'm here today to build relationships so I can see your faces. So when you see me, if you see me again, when you see me again, hopefully I'll have data that these numbers have increased even more. The last thing I want to tell you about is we have a program where we're going to do take-home projects. And our goal is to bring the students and the families together. Because you have students go home, the only time they learn anything is at the school. Parents may be too busy, may be tired, whatever the circumstance is at home. We provide after science dinner kits, so they have to work with the families, take pictures, report it back to us, because our goal is to build relationships with the children and the families to bring them closer together. The last thing that we have on the slide was our end of year for Harnett County. This is the end result. The kids have to put all the robots together. They learn about coding. The robots have to do a specific thing per session. So it opens up a door for them to fail, but fail successfully. They have to think outside the box. They have to talk to each other. They have to come together as one in order to make this a awesome, awesome thing. At the end of the year, we did pizza parties for the kids. This year, we're going to take them on a field trip to a SIFAR camp where we can go more into depth with them on coding and learning that there are futures and so many things with learning with SIFAR and working with the STEM program. And thank you for your time. I just wanted to let you know what was going on in your county. And Harnett County, they are doing an awesome job.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. You did an awesome job. I don't know why you're so nervous. But will this be extended only to the school?
Yes, only to the schools right now. It was a 5-year grant. We are in year 4. The last year will be August 31st of 2027. I am working with Dr. Terry from A&T because this year we changed it to submerge. We're a year behind as they do them in the schools because we don't want to do them at the same time the schools are doing them to confuse the kids. So one thing that I want to do as far as take them to churches, take them to the community. My thing is get it in the community because some people may not be able to see this unless they're at Coates Irwin Middle School. So you have all these charter schools, you have private schools. So my thing is we take the old stuff that we didn't, that we have left over from the previous year and take it into some of the other schools so everybody gets the experiment.
I think it's a good subject and a good training for it.
It is awesome.
I love A&T.
Yeah.
And a son at A&T.
Aggie Pride.
But I tell you what, if you go to A&T, you get a job.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I do want to say that I just wish at some point somebody will bring back home economics.
Yes.
Because a lot of these young girls don't know how to cook.
But the way things are going now, they get that coding down, the oven will do everything. They just got to know how to put the code in.
Think about that one now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Any more questions? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Parts update, Mr. Barry Billings. Good morning, sir.
I gave y'all warning on my stomach, right? Got a bad back, y'all. I'm sorry.
So I'm introducing Chance Terrain. He's our transportation manager. He is the SME for Hearts, and he's going to do a presentation on the entire, the op stats is what it's called, statistics and analysis, and you'll see some of the numbers and trips and all those types of things, and he'll be able to explain that in greater detail.
I need that slide up. That show slide. Good morning, board. Today I would like to give you an update on accomplishment for FY 24-25. This is our fleet. We have 27 vehicles in operation. This is our op stats right here. This collect data on the service revenues and expenses. For 23-24, the miles was a little over 450,000 miles. But in 2025, we finished out at 690,000 miles. There was a big improvement, a little over 240,000 miles in 24-25. This is our op stats for Saturday. We only run dialysis. So we have 3 drivers that run dialysis on Saturday. 1 part-time, 2 full-time. And this is our trip count on dialysis for FY 24-25. So we currently serve 7 dialysis centers. We have 3 part-time, 7 full-time in operation 6 days a week. Some of them come in as early as 3:30 in the morning to 11. Then the second shift come in at 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we had a total of 13,413 trips for FY 24-25. That's just for dialysis. This is our in-county trips for FY 24 and 25. We had a little over 28,000 trips. This covered like medical, Dalaride, Medicaid, COA, Council of Agent, and senior trips, and Morris Clinic and Daymore. These are all in-county trips. And this is our out-of-county trips. This is medical only. We currently go to Wake, Durham, Sampson, Orange, Johnston, Cumberland, Lee, Chatham, and more. So we had a total of out-of-county trips, 1,795 medical trips. So ending up, the total trips for the year was a little over 43,000. And this is Heart's additional information for FY 25. We currently have 27 vehicles. We have 14 full-time and 14 part-time with a total of 28 drivers. And we have 6 office staff. So this is a program that TDLP, Transportation Leadership Development Program. We send somebody from the office every year to attend this training. This training improves your decision-making, employee motivation, teamwork, and give you practical application of creative ideas within the transportation. So this year we sent Pam Bennett and back in May. I also attended this training back in 23, me and Candace Cameron. It's a good training. It helps you develop your leadership skills, communication, and strategic thinking. And so we attend this conference, NCPTA. This is North Carolina Public Transportation Association. So this is where you can network with other counties within North Carolina. So we sent 3 drivers, including Candace, myself, and Valencia Bell.
We attended the expo and the rodeo. So we had 3 drivers to place 5th place out of 28 counties in this rodeo. Tanya Nelson, Crescent Braswell, and Catherine Rosencrantz. And we haven't participated within 12 plus years. This is the first year we participated in the conference, and we placed 5th place. And this is a thank you letter that we received about a month ago from the Shooks. I thought this was amazing. They sent a letter in about our service, and we also, our scheduler, she got a personal letter, the same as this, sent to Candace Williams. So the Shooks, they really like our service and what we provide for them. Any questions?
I don't have, excuse me, I don't have any questions, but I just want to say thank you for the report. Seems like things are going really well now. Okay. I appreciate the service that you provide for the senior citizens. I do know that a lot of counties don't have this for their senior citizens. This is a plus for a senior citizen that don't have transportation to go to the doctor or whatever business means that they have. I appreciate the fact that you have all expanded it, so expanded what you used to do by including the Saturdays and the shopping and all of that. So you give a good report, and I want to say I thank you for it, because it hasn't always been like that. Barry, got to give you good credit. And I haven't had a call in 3 or 4 years from a senior citizen being left standing in front of their yard. So you all are taking it serious, and I appreciate you. I really do appreciate it.
If I could make a comment, Chance is our current transportation manager. Larry Smith was our past one before Chance. Since I've been here in 2013, we've had 4 transportation managers. These gentlemen that have brought it forward. And the reason I say that, because he blazed the path, Larry did. Chance has really taken it to the next level. He knows every player in the state. He benchmarks off them constantly, ensures that he's always involved with the Transportation Association, does professional development, ensures his staff has it. I mean, it's good leadership. We got a good program. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we're moving forward. So we're excited. It's a good time. It's a good time to have this presentation of the numbers he was talking about. You'll see pre-COVID, they were very, very high. COVID brought us down, and we're rebounding. We're rebounding on demand. So we see good things ahead of us.
Well, I thank you, because, I've made many presentations in this county, and there are some people don't even know this program exists. So you're doing good work now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Chance.
Discuss a request to enter into a contract with Motive Care. Mr. Blevins, you're up again, sir.
All righty. So before I talk about Motive Care, I just kind of want to give a background on how Hearts operates, just in general terms, especially about funding. And our revenue streams, those type of things, and just talk about Hearts and just in a general 30,000 foot view. I think it's important to have that understanding before we start talking about Motive Care. Just overall, Motive Care is a contract for us that is a revenue source, nothing more, nothing less. We, as if the board approves that contract, what we will do is work for Motive Care under the managed care program, and I'll detail more how that works. So, what Hearts is a demand response. Larry coined it. You call, we haul, and that's the whole point. Chance already talked about the destinations we do. All those are medical, out of county medical, but we're funded through federal dollars through our 5311 program. We're funded through the state as a piece of that federal grant, and then the local funds that you all approve for us to operate. And like many departments, anticipating changes that's going on at the federal level and those kind of things, we are always worried about anticipating change. We also worry about the continued growth in the county, how we're going to respond, how we're going to do those things. I hear all the time that houses being built are for higher income folks, just because of the cost of them. But at the same time, there is still the needs. Shooks were a good example that Chance gave, and I've written several letters to the Shook family. They actually live with their daughter and her husband because they were forced to, because of one's got a problem seeing and the other one's disabled. So even though they're in a very nice home, the neighborhood they're in is very nice, they need transportation outside. They want to be independent. And so they're a primary example of what we do, low income and elderly. So just wanted to add that in there, because Shooks, when they sent that letter, honestly, they shook us all up, pardon the pun, and make us realize and re-energize the entire staff on what we do. So, and I'm hoping we have more conversations with the Shooks and people like them. So here I call it opportunities. We are in a perfect area as far as opportunities to get funding, to get studies and all those things. So we're as y'all know, we're in the Capital MPO, the Fayetteville area MPO. We have access, as you know, that North Tarrant Transit Study was completed, pointed out some things that part of the top portion of the county, people or citizens were asking for. We see it. We do the strategic transportation prioritization plan with both FAMPO and CAMPO. That for us, for transit, it's asking for vehicles to expand. And even though we don't have a snowball's chance in Hades getting funded, but we put it out there every year, so DOT knows that we need to expand, and hopefully someday they'll fund that. Again, what I've talked about is the demand for service is continuing to rise. We pick it up all the time with new passengers, new ways to transport. When I say new ways of transport, looking at, like the study said, to do microtransit, those type of things, those demands are out there. We hear it all the time. Do you have a fixed route to Raleigh? Well, I can see in the future that happen. It may not be during my time here, but I think in the future you will see that. So we can't just sit back. We got to start planning now, and that's what Chance and I do with CAMPO and FAMPO. We try to reach out. Connectivity, regional connectivity is an important piece that DOT wants to do. So we try to be a partner with DOT to do those type of things. We also have access to the RPO through Mid-Carolina funding. I think it's on your agenda today. We use those to pick up people, elderly folks, for medical in general. The one thing I will say about it, and I'm getting older too, but the point I'm just trying to make is that a lot of people don't want to sign up for that because they think we're going to lose their information, through the computer or something. But it's required to have it. I mean, in order to do that block grant, to have access to it, you have to give your social, your name, and your address. However, we still try to market it and bring it up and use it quite a bit because it's quite a bit of dollars for us. We still have access to ROPE, the Rural Operating Assistance Program, which there's 3 different categories that are the elderly and disabled, work first or employment, and then the RGP, the Rural General Public, which we use that to leverage dial-a-ride, so just a fare type. So if you're not elderly, low income, and those kind of things, then you can use the general public to catch a ride with a fare. So that's part of that program. And then, of course, the whole topic of this discussion is the managed care and non-emergency medical transportation brokers. Let me catch up with my notes if I could. So transit overview, again, I'm saying demand is rebounding. Chance has already pointed out, but in fiscal year 19, we did 854,000 miles. I mean, that we were booming then. We're seeing expectations for public transit change. When I say that, again, talking about the different types, not the demand response, not the white bands you see. People ask us if we have these things, so we know that the request, the change is coming in some form or fashion. It may take 20 years, but we know it's out there, and again, that's what we plan for. We also see a funding source reduction, and I'll talk a little more about that, but reduction in Medicaid dollars that we used to operate off of. We also see the ROPE is a good possibility because state funded. That may be reduced. This year it's not at this point, but I think in future years it may. Who knows? But we have to plan for it when it does. We have other opportunities. Again, I go reference back to the opportunities we have from the RPOs and even the RPO, small area of county, but the MPOs too. And then, of course, the way I look at it, we have historic transit markets, which is those we're still doing vocational rehab, medical, food, banking, pharmacies, dialysis, those type of things. As we have said in the past, and the most important piece that boards before you had heard that dialysis was life-saving. We think that everything we do is life-saving because there's a lot of people that need access to food and they don't have transportation. As I recall during the study, 4% of the people that lived in the northern part of the county didn't have access to transportation at all, didn't have families that had any vehicles. They didn't have one. So those kind of people are the ones that rely on us for transportation. So the next one is this is where I wanted to really speak on. So I talked already about the Rural Operating Assistance Program, the different types, the Division of Aging. These are all funding types. The DSS Transportation Program with Medicaid. 5311 admin and capital is something we do every year, but it just helps pay for the administration and purchasing vehicles. And of course, the local funding that you all approve for us to operate. But the real thing I really want to talk about is the next slide. So if you can think about these types of funding that we have, what we try to do is every person that rides, when they have a seat on our vehicles, they have a funding source attached to it. So that's how we track and how we count down on the funds. And so this is a good example of what could happen. So you could have a seat, somebody in there that's driving with EdTap dollars, the Elderly Disabled Transportation Assistance Program. A person could be going to JCI. They would be associated with EdTap. But that's just, we call it a fare type, but they're still funded through the EdTap program. You might have below it, you see there's two Medicaids. There may be a Medicaid trip, a DSS transportation provided trip, and those are funded that way. So every seat, we try to fill up the van with every seat because the cost of transportation is directly related to how many people you transport. So if you got an empty bus, it could be up to $48, $49 for that trip. If you got it full of people in it, then your costs go down, your cost per mile and all those things. So that's a goal of ours, just to keep the program solvent the best way we can. So this is a good example that happens quite a bit. And Chance's challenge, and he's been rising to the challenge, is pardon the pun, we put butts in seats, and that's what he's trying to do. So we're seeing our vehicles fill up a lot more. And so, again, driving the cost of the overall transportation down. So then the next thing we'll talk about is motive care. So again, as I said, we consider this an additional funding source. And it's through the managed care, non-emergency medical transportation brokers. And I'll give a little update, and I got the expert here in case, Paul, if he wants to speak in on the dates and times, but managed care was introduced by North Carolina legislation in 2015. And what they've said was going to a managed care program for most of the Medicaid recipients. So out of the managed care program, the managed care non-emergency medical transportation brokers was part of it. Those are the group. The brokers are the group that take rides or requests from Medicaid recipients to get transportation to their medical appointments. Now, not all of them, not all persons that receive Medicaid under the managed care are asking for rides, because they can get reimbursed for mileage if they have their own vehicles and those type of things. So they can get reimbursed. However, I don't know much about that side. I just know generally they can. So the NEMT, it's so hard to say. They solicited for transportation vendors, both private and public. Want to make a note that there is an agreement between North Carolina DHHS and managed care brokers to have to allow public transit opportunity on the request, if a person requests it, or if they have no other, they don't know of any other transportation vendors. Like I see Crossway Transportation is here. If they don't want to use Crossway, or they don't know, the public transit systems who have a contract with a broker get the first opportunity to get that trip. Now, that's nothing to do with us. That was decided at the very beginning. However, in this particular instance, if a trip request comes to us and we don't have the capacity on that day or time or place, then we just turn it back over and say we can't do it. And then it becomes available to all the other private vendors. So, and I think that's a big thing about this particular contract, is that you can get it turned back. So we don't believe overall that we're going to do much, lack of better words, damage to other public vendors, because there's no way we can do them. The last time I checked, the Motive Care only told us they have between 1,500 and 1,800 requests per month. So I know that we couldn't do it anyway. But anyways, as they said, there's going to be plenty of work for other people. So back to how this all started. Initially, Motive Care and North Carolina NCPTA did a pilot program to see how efficient this could be. It happened during the time we were watching it. We stayed on the sidelines, didn't want to be a part of it because they had a lot of problems to begin with. Problems with communication, problems setting up trips, problems with getting reimbursed, those kind of things. Since then, they have straightened most of that out. So, again, the reason why we're even talking about Motive Care, they're one of the largest managed care brokers in the U.S. They're better organized. We've seen that we have the whole managed care program since 2015. Since 21, we've seen our revenues from Medicaid drop tremendously. There's been about a 40% decline in Medicaid revenue, partially because we have upped the mileage rate in order to compensate for some of our losses. However, we've seen that 60% of our trips have actually failed or have been reduced. So Medicaid, at some point in the past, we've been up to almost $1 million a year. But now it's down to, I just checked before I came over here, and it lags behind now. Don't get me wrong, it lags behind on the fiscal year, but right now it's at $500,000. So that's quite a bit of a drop from $500,000 for transportation revenue. So anyway, that's one of the reasons why we even considered Motive Care, and it's taken almost a year, negotiations and discussions and those kind of things. We've not walked into it quickly, or we want to make sure this is a good fit. We think it is. So that's the overview. So how this generally works. If you're a person with Medicaid under the managed care system, you call an MET broker. It could be ModivCare, it could be a company called MTM, it could be a company named WellCare. I think MTM is now working in the county, but ModivCare definitely is working in this county. If the provider cannot, if the provider cannot accept the request, let's use us for example. If we can't take it because we're already at capacity, we can't fill that request for that day, we have a 48-hour period to turn it over. So we turn it over, and then the local vendor would take that out. Somebody like a Crossway would have that trip for that whatever day and time. Otherwise, if we can take it, then we just provide the transportation and get the documentation that's required, and then make the claim. How it fits within Hearts, generally I've already talked about a little bit, but at the beginning, we got a request from some of our citizens that rode with us when the managed care came, and then they were placed under that, where they couldn't ask for transportation from us. If they did, they had to pay for it. So they asked us early on if we would become a part of ModivCare because they knew that that's what part of they were doing. Additionally, ModivCare reached out to us because there's not enough lift vehicles in the county. We have almost all 26 of our vehicles are lift, so they can take handicapped wheelchairs. And so they asked us early on, and we were still on the sidelines trying to figure out if this was a good fit for us and for the county. Again, I go back to this is, to us, ModivCare is nothing more than an additional choice for our citizens, but also an additional revenue source that may help us. And the whole point is to help us reduce the leverage that the county has to do to fund us every year operation-wise. As I said before, the cost per mile lowers as you increase your passengers. So we think the contract may add passengers to fill our seats. If you want to know the truth, we don't know how many. We're in the dark about how many we could do. We don't believe it's going to be a lot because we are tied up with a lot of other things. But I thought if there's a good thing to recommend to the commissioners is that we try for a revenue source that to me is a win-win. We either don't take the trip or we don't, and if we take it, we get reimbursed for our rate. And for our costs for the transportation, or at least a portion of it. It's not 100% coverage. It's not like to cover the cost of every trip. So again, it goes for ModivCare. You would add that person to that demonstration I showed you with the different seats. That seat would just be a ModivCare person. That's it. So we would transport them with everybody and anybody we have on the vehicles. It again to lower the cost per mile. Again, that's the alternate source. So is there any questions on ModivCare?
Do they get federal funding too, ModivCare?
Do they get funding? No, so they have a contract, the brokers have a contract with the state, North Carolina administered through DHHS.
Okay.
And they're just contracted to them provide this transportation. So if they are a for-profit business.
Okay.
So the reason why they have separate negotiated contracts is to ensure they make a profit. So, but they get paid from the state, probably through Medicaid. But I'm not sure about that piece. But they don't get any other funds except for that. And we don't pay them. We would be under this contract, we'd be working for them to provide the transportation.
So they just provide transportation for those senior citizens that you can't provide for, right?
No, they provide transportation for Medicaid recipients who are now underneath the managed care program.
Okay.
The managed care, the bigger program, transportation is just a portion of it.
Yeah. But let me, one more question. Do you expect to get cuts from the federal Washington for this program? Because that's my concern. Cuts that we're getting from Medicare, Medicaid.
So we're not hearing anything from the state. You know, North Carolina is a block grant state, so it's funneled through NCDOT. We're not hearing that. What worries me is the ROPE dollars, which the Rural Operating Assistance Program, which is state funded. I'm sure there's federal dollars connected somewhere, but it's actually allocated by the General Assembly every year. So, for example, they've not approved the budget. They said just use the same numbers you got from last year for your own budget. So that's our worry is that one, and that is the elderly disabled. That is the work first employment, and that is the RGP. So we do worry about that. We have seen a little bit of cuts based on population from the community home block care grant, and that you'll hear earlier. I think that's last on your agenda. We did see a little bit of cut from that. So all I'm saying is we're trying to figure out a way to make sure that, you know, we stay as funded as the best we can, and this is just another avenue for us. But those are good questions, though. I'm glad you brought those up.
Thank you. That's all I have. I mean, if we see these cuts, I know you'll let us know. I think these programs are great programs for citizens of this county. We all know, I don't say everybody here is citizens, but I know I'm a senior citizen, and no one can understand what can happen to a senior when they don't have transportation back and forth to their doctor. And then you all have expanded that, the shopping opportunities and all of that. I am just at awe with what you all do. And I'm praying that we can continue, because people really need that service.
Well, your question made me think of something that I need to reiterate. If those funding stop or they get less, there's a lot of transit systems in the state. I'll use EdTap as an example, because that's usually the one that everybody uses the most. There are a lot of transportation programs in the state that when their EdTap dollars run out, they don't provide that transportation no more. When ours run out, we keep picking up the same people, and that's because of the operations of funding that you guys provide. We don't refuse anybody because of that particular funding source has gone out. Now we will look for another funding source we can use for that seat, but we've never turned anybody down because we lost funding, or we're at the end of funding. I'll use an example, and this is not bad mouthing JCI, but when I first got here, JCI dominated our EdTap, and we were done with it in the first quarter. But we still provided that transportation because they needed that vocational rehab. So,
well, I would just say that I'm glad that I know there's some input to come from Hunter County, and I'm glad that commissioners at that time seem to do this. I think it's excellent. And we must continue to think of ways to keep it going. A lot of people don't understand it, but I do. I do.
well, it's called demand response. It's called rural transportation, but we treat it like it's a transportation program, period.
Right.
So we're trying to do all of it. Those are good questions, comments. I appreciate that. So I won't spend too much more of your time, but I just wanted to go over the service delivery thing.
Could I just say one thing before we move on?
Yes, sir.
So, if I understand correctly, bottom line is, should we contract with Motive Care, then we would have an opportunity, if they had a need, they would send that request to you.
That's correct.
And then if we could fill it, it would help us fill a seat,
Correct.
and we would receive the reimbursement for that transportation. If we couldn't fill it, we return it, then it goes to some other carrier. But there would be no expense involved in that for us.
None.
Okay, that's what I
None.
thought I heard, just want to make sure.
There will be some expense because the more miles we get, the lower the cost. But how we can do that is that we fill in the seats, reduces our cost per mile, and that's our goal. So then, right now, their reimbursement is just a little bit over our cost per mile. So the more we get, or the more people we put, again, butts and seats, then our costs are low. So
And we're not paying anything to enter into this contract.
absolutely nothing.
Thank you.
Chairman, I could ask, I have one question. With regards to this, what happens if we didn't go with Motive Care? You haven't talked about that. And I say that in the sense of what happens to Hearts and what happens to the managed care person that's looking for a ride. If we're not contracting with Motive Care, what's going to happen if we were to decide not to do that?
That's a very good question. I should have addressed it. So if the county does not contract with Motive Care, those persons that are under managed care seeking NEMT trips, they would still have all the vendors that are available in the county. I mean, they're going to have that anyway because we're not going to be able to, we can't fill them all. So they're always going to have that. So they would have that as an option. There's also an option for reimbursement if they can get themselves there.
So the individual will not be without a ride. It'll
Right.
just be provided by a private individual if we weren't doing this contract.
Right. So think of it like this. We've not provided any of this transportation since 21. So they've been finding other avenues through other vendors since 21.
And can the individual request a certain transportation company, or is it
It is
truly
my-
up to Motive Care with regards to who's assigned?
It is my understanding that if you ask for a particular company, that you can get that company. If they have the capacity on that day. But generally it'd be like somebody asking that doesn't know. Like I said, the first ones have come to us. However, if a person asks specifically for another vendor such as Crossway, I don't think they come to us.
Okay.
Yep.
So essentially, this would offer another option for transportation.
Correct.
So as demand increases, then this ultimately could become more of a viable benefit for our citizens.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. And again, going back to, at the beginning, we had a lot of requests from our citizens because they were used to Hearts.
To use this. Right.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But those are all good questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more question. I know when I first got elected some years back, we did have contractors that worked for the county. Do we have any now?
We do not.
That's it.
Okay, so the service overview is, we're unique because we're the only public transportation available in Harney County. We're first to market. Community transportation is fairly new. The General Assembly set up community transportation, and believe it or not, it was for the FAST system in Fayetteville in the 70s. It was the first one in the state. In the late 90s, they started setting up the rural transportation. In Hearts, I tried to look back, preparing for this, but Hearts has been here since the early 20s, or 2000s, not 20s. I feel like I started it. In case you all don't know, and I like always to tell this story, the ARC that is over in the General Services Facilities Building, well, Board of Elections now, the ARC actually started transportation in Harney County. They got together, the parents got together, went to their churches and got vans to take their kids to vocational rehab. And they were actually the first ones. And then back in the 80s, they reached out to the county to purchase those vehicles. So the county was doing a pseudo transportation program without getting funded. So the commissioners at the time, they funded that small transportation system just for the ARC. And so when I used to meet with those ladies when I first got this position, they reminded me all the time, we started Hearts. So I've always got to pay homage to them every time we talk about Hearts. So, but anyway, that's a side note. And again, we're tested. We've, like I said, operated for 20 plus years. We're authentic in terms that our primary focus is public transportation for low-income, disabled, and aging passengers. And if you, the board soon, if they approve this contract, then we'll just have an additional group. As I put there, we've adjusted over time. Dialysis has become a huge piece of what we do. We've increased senior trip days and those kind of things, which helps, health-wise for older folks to get out. And then our future, again, I see it as Hart's growth as the population continues to grow. More homes built, there's opportunity for utilizing public transportation. Expectations of transportation models. People moving in here are used to other systems. They're used to, people from up north are used to fixed routes, different types. People from the west the same way. It's a little bit different here in North Carolina. North Carolina is a little different from a lot of other places with rural transportation. But what I'm saying is the future you'll see a population that makes demands that are different than what we have right now. Our market's still the same. Delivery methods can change with fixed route, deviated fixed route, microtransit, regional connectivity. And I know you all have heard on the news, at least I pay attention to it, about grant dollars set aside from DOT for regional connectivity from Goldsboro to Raleigh. Well, there's actually regional buses that you could get on from Wilmington all the way to the mountains, and a private person can get on it and ride it. It's only an 8-hour trip. I mean, so it's fairly quick, and it's funded mostly through DOT. I'm sure it's for a private vendor does that, but from what I understand, it's becoming very popular, and I expect looking for regional connectivity from Fayetteville to Raleigh and beyond. So anyway, I'm just saying that because I think that's the future for regional connectivity.
Yes,
And I thank you. Are there any other questions as far as motive care?
More questions, comments from Mr. Blevins?
That was long-winded for that one.
just want to let the public know that, there is transportation out of Wake County, Raleigh, all the way on the train to Charlotte. I think it's like $25 or so. A lot of citizens from down this way and other counties are taking advantage of that too. So I hope in the future to see something here in Harnett County. But until that time comes, I'm grateful that you all are here.
Pleasure of the board in regards to the contract with Motive Care.
Consent agenda's fine.
Put it on the consent agenda.
Madam Clerk, we'll go ahead and add this to the consent agenda for next week. All right, sir, and you are up again to discuss a request to consider and approve the North Carolina Department of Transportation Combined Capital Agreement.
Okay, so as I said before, the $5311 that provided from NCDOT through, or FTA through NCDOT. I think I was here for the last meeting for the administration request for the 5311 for 2026. This is for the capital, and it is the total amount of the capital is $288,158 with a county match of $28,817. Again, this grant provides the funding associated with the vehicle purchases. We may purchase this year, it may take us a year to get them. So it's kind of a revolving account of sorts, and we do this every year. So are there any questions on the agreement or what they may be used for?
Pleasure of the board.
Ben?
Good. Go ahead and add that to the consent agenda as well, Madam Clerk. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, discuss a request to continue membership with the NC Cardinal Consortium. Ms. Kimberly Van Beck. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. The Harnett County Public Library respectfully requests permission to continue its membership in the North Carolina Cardinal Consortium. It's a statewide consortium of public libraries that utilize Evergreen, which is an open source integrated library system. It's used by over 66 counties in the state and 234 libraries in the state. It's a robust system that offers both a public-facing catalog and essential back-of-house management tools for our staff, including circulation, cataloging, reporting, acquisitions, and seamless resource sharing. By remaining a member of NC Cardinal, Harnett County Public Library would continue to benefit from the cost-effective alternative, which is expensive third-party ILS vendors. This participation enables the library to reallocate those saved funds to traditionally used for ILS systems towards patron-focused services and programs. Additionally, the shared NCR Cardinal ILS system expands our access to broader collections of materials and services across all of the member libraries, enriching the experience of our local patrons and increasing the overall library usage. The library has budgeted appropriately for the cost of continued membership and is committed to supporting this collaborative initiative.
Questions or comments?
Put it on the agenda for great benefit for citizens here in Harnett County through the library.
We'll go ahead and add this to the consent agenda as well. All right, and you are up again to discuss a request for permission to apply for annual state aid from NC, North Carolina Department of Cultural Resources.
Thank you. Each year, the North Carolina General Assembly appropriates money for the public libraries of North Carolina. These funds are intended to promote, aid, and equalize public library service in communities throughout the state. The allocation is divided into two parts. 50% is divided equally among 100 counties and 12 regional library systems, and then the remaining 50% is divided among library systems using an equalization formula with factors that include population, per capita income, and maintenance of effort. Maintenance and effort takes into account of local appropriations that we receive, and the state evaluates the MOU every 3 years. So we're asking permission to apply for this year's state aid grant. There are no matching funds.
We'll add this to the consent agenda as well, Madam Clerk. And you are up again. Discuss a request to accept the Library Services and Technology Act grant in the amount of $100,000.
We are here today to request approval for Harnett County Public Library to accept an LSTA project grant in the amount of $100,000. This would fund the expansion of RFID technology to our 6 branch locations in Anger, Ben Haven, Boone Trail, Coates, Dunn, and Irwin. RFID was successfully implemented at our main location when we built this building in 2021, and it's been widely beneficial. It has allowed for citizens to check out materials quickly and privately using self-checkout kiosks, and it's enabled staff tools which have significantly reduced misplaced or unaccounted for items. That being said, over half of all of our library card holders use a branch library, not our main location. And so the library feels that it's essential that we provide those locations with the same level of service and efficiency as we do here at our main location. The project would include installation of self-checkout kiosks and RFID-enabled security gates and staff tools at each location. The self-service kiosks streamline the checkout process, freeing up staff time for other essential services like technology assistance, reference support, and expansion of programming. Additionally, the RFID-enabled security gates help ensure that materials remain accounted for in the library, and that helps to maintain collection availability for our users. The total cost of the project is $133,800. So the grant is $100,000, and that leaves $33,800 in matching funds of the county. And we do have that in capital reserve.
But this consent agenda as well, Madam Clerk. And one last time, request to accept library services grant in the amount of $100,000 for a mobile outreach vehicle.
So we also were successfully awarded our LSTA project grant for our mobile outreach vehicle. We would use this as a bookmobile with the intent of reaching the 53,000 or 37% of residents in Harnett County that currently reside outside of a 10-mile radius of one of our branch libraries. We would be using the bookmobile to reach parts of the county without designated library facilities, and we would partnership with local agencies to establish correct stops for the bookmobile. The bookmobile would host early literacy initiatives, STEAM activities, summer reading programs, digital literacy courses, and it would offer wireless hotspot access and outreach to print resources that are unavailable in those rural communities currently. This grant does require a 64% match to the total amount of $174,965, and those funds are also satisfied in the reserve.
So there is a match?
Yes, so the grant is for $100,000, and that leaves $74,965 that the county would fund.
You have, sorry, go ahead.
I'm through. Go ahead.
You have that in your library fund?
We have it in reserve, yes.
Well, I think we should put it on the agenda, because that's a great advantage for citizens that live in rural counties. I remember years ago, we had a book here in Harnett County. That's one of the ways for us to get it back. You know, a lot of people can't come to the library. A lot of areas don't have libraries. I think it's a good advantage. What do you propose that we put it on the agenda?
We'll go ahead and make that happen, Madam Clerk.
Thank
you
you.
very much. All right, Development Services briefing. There are. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board, Sarah Arbor, Harnett County Development Services. So we have two zoning petitions that we'll be bringing before you all at the August 18th public hearing. The first of which is an application we received to rezone from the industrial to the RA30 zoning district. The owner and applicant is Mr. Johnny Stewart. So the subject property is about a 13.7 vacant and unimproved parcel, which is located off of Brian McLam Lane, which is off of US 301 North in Dunn. So this parcel is currently used for agricultural purposes. Surrounding land uses consist of residential uses and other agricultural activities. All parcels located along Brian McLam Lane are currently used for these purposes. Next, I'll provide some background information about the community, including when it was zoned industrial and precedent for rezoning other properties in this community to residential. So zoning was adopted in the Aversboro Township in 1988. Presumably, the property has been zoned industrial since. There's not been any industrial development along Brian McLam Lane in that time. Next, there's precedent for rezoning the subject property to RA30 due to a previous change of zoning, which was approved in 2015. And I've provided a small map showing those properties which were rezoned to the RA30 zoning district at that time. Next, I'd like to review the infrastructure available for the site. So currently, there is neither public water or sewer, which is available for the site. And of course, the property is located off of Brian McLam Lane. That is a privately maintained road, so there's no state maintenance along that road. I've provided a few photos for your viewing just to kind of give you an idea of the improvement level of Brian McLam Lane. So there, where it connects to US 301 North, there is about a 20-foot wide section where that is paved in asphalt that goes down approximately 0.2 of a mile before that transitions over to gravel and dirt. The road narrows considerably. Compaction variations are present. It's not suitable or sufficient at this time for immediate industrial development or subdivision of the property. Next, we'll review the zoning district compatibility map. Here you can see that there are adjacent properties which are zoned RA30, which is the requested zoning classification. Then we'll take a look at the land use classification compatibility map. So currently, the land use classification is not compatible with the requested rezoning. So what that means is that, just due to North Carolina general statute, what would happen is if this were to be approved and the zoning were to be changed to the RA30, that would deem the land use changed to a compatible land use. In this case, would be rural residential. And we can speak a little bit more about that during the evaluation section of this presentation here. So I've provided several photos here of the site for your review, as well as some of the surrounding land uses and just the condition of Brian McLean Lane, excuse me. So as staff moved through our evaluation, we found that the requested rezoning to the RA30 was compatible. This was for two reasons: the adjacent RA30 zoning classification, as well as the surrounding land uses are compatible with the allowable land uses in the RA30 zoning district. We found that it preserves the character of the neighborhood, and it's in accordance with sound planning practices. Of course, through our evaluation, we did find that it is not compatible with the underlying future land use. So that would need to be amended to the rural agricultural land use designation if this were to be approved. I've included a description in there, but basically it's for areas of the county that are primary agricultural, that have forestry uses. They may include some rural businesses, but they are located outside of areas with existing or planned utility services. Additionally, staff did want to make the board aware, any time that we have a requested rezoning, coming from a commercial or industrial and going to something residential, we do work with economic development to get an evaluation from them on kind of what the impact is. And so as we did that, economic development did share with us that they don't like to see a loss of industrial inventory, even though there are constraints on the property, which make it unlikely or unsuitable at this time, at least, for any kind of non-residential development. Planning staff, of course, agrees. We do not want to see, any kind of reduction in any way of inventory of industrial zone land. However, with our newly adopted comp plan, we've identified other areas in the county that are more suitable, where it would be compatible with the surrounding land uses and where more utilities are available to support it. So through our analysis, that's where we stand, and we are recommending approval. So staff is here to answer any questions.
Questions, comments for staff?
Motion put it on.
I guess, but there again, we're losing farmland, and we badly need economic development growth. How are you waiting? It's kind of hard to wait too.
This particular tract, ma'am, I'm familiar with myself. It's been in the McLean family for many, many years. It was rezoned commercial or industrial when he built Benson Building Supply, and he has since passed on. And his children and grandchildren are dividing the farm up now as they become of age and marry and want to build a house. And the chances of it being developed by anybody other than the McLean family are slim and none, at least in our lifetime. So I would go along with.
That happens.
You got to put it over here, right?
We'll go ahead and add it to the agenda for a public hearing next week. And you are up for another proposed zoning change.
All right, thank you. So our next case is Plan 2507-0002. The owner is TFD Incorporated. Applicant is Mr. Jonathan Tucker. This is a property, it's about 3 acres in size. It's located on NC 87 South in Cameron, and that's just south of the Buffalo Lake Road NC 87 South intersection. So the site consists of, it's 2 wooded unimproved parcels. There are overhead power lines that do cross the property right around the property's midsection. The surrounding land use consists of vacant wooded land, single-family homes. There's also commercial land uses. Just to the north, there's a fitness center, a gas station, automobile repair shop, and a restaurant, which are located in close proximity. There are also properties located just to the south and to the north that are zoned commercial, which is our requested rezoning, our requested zoning classification, excuse me. In terms of services available for the site, there's public water. It is unknown at this time if sewer is available for the property. Transportation, we'll take a look at that. Of course, the property has access to NC 87 South, which is a major thoroughfare here. Daily trips for that section of NC 87 are about 31,500 daily trips. So taking a look at the zoning district compatibility map, you can see those two parcels located just to the south, which are also zoned commercial. Heading north towards Buffalo Lake Road, there are several properties which are zoned commercial there, as well as some that are still zoned residential, but do have commercial uses on them. Staff did want to note that this property is located in two of our overlay zoning districts, one of which is a highway corridor overlay zoning district. So this encourages commercial and non-residential development, which promotes safe traffic patterns. It does that through requiring shared access and lateral access, as well as shared parking. The property is also located within our military corridor overlay district. So this is to protect from incompatible uses between air operations associated with Fort Bragg. So the board is aware, staff did send the application we received out to RULAC to take a look at. That is a Fort Bragg Regional Land Use Advisory Commission. And their evaluation was that this request for rezoning would increase the compatibility with military aviation operations. Staff has provided the land use classification compatibility map. This property is located in our village land use classification, which is mixed use and does support a non-residential development. And next we'll review the photos of the site. Okay, and as staff moved through our evaluation, we were able to answer everything in the affirmative. Staff found that it's compatible with the surrounding land uses, with the land use classification, and with the zoning districts located in the area. Specifically, it's compatible with the village land use, as well as some of the goals and the strategies that we have outlined in our land use plan, including encouraging commercial recruitment, including retail and restaurants, to address leakage trends, to encourage commercial and retail development in non-residential and mixed-use areas identified on the future land use map, and to encourage investment on potential commercial corridors that will serve as gateways to the county. That's all from staff, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments?
To hearing, move to hearing.
You can go ahead and add this for public hearing next week as well, Madam Clerk.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Discuss a request to approve HRW write-offs as of June 25. Mr. Tommy Burns, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. HRW is requesting delinquent accounts to be written off through June 30th, 2025, and these accounts would be forwarded to the local government debt set-off program and through our online collections vehicle. I'd be happy to answer any questions on those you may have.
Any other questions or comments from Mr. Burns? Go ahead and add this to consent agenda for approval next week.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Discuss a request to award the Northwest Convenience Center construction project. Mr. Chad Bean, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you this morning to request a formal request to approve or award the Northwest Convenience Center to Harrod and Associate Constructors from Raleigh, North Carolina. This is a location at 1418 Oak Ridge River Road. This is a convenient site that we've had in the capital improvement project file for a while, and we're excited to get this moving to service that northwest area. The The amount on this contract would be $1,666,806. Proper procurement procedures were taken, and the bids were open on Friday, June 27th. 6 bids were received at that time. And if you notice the attached certified bid tab showing the results of the bid for your review, if you notice the low bid was at 1.7 with Herod originally. So we went back and did our due diligence with them to see if there were any costs that we could cut. So we looked at the electrical and lighting, so we're going to reduce some of that. And because the power company will be able to help us a lot with the lighting and that type thing. So that's going to reduce the cost roughly $90,000 from the original bid. So that's the reason you see the discrepancy in those two prices. This site would actually replace the existing site at Buckhorn. It's off Cokesbury Road. The 2 sites are roughly 3.5 miles away from one another. Just a little information there, and I just ask for your approval to move forward with this. Any questions, I'll be glad to try to field those.
Now, will this replace the one that's on Cokesbury Road or be an addition?
Yes, sir, it will replace it. We are currently leasing that site, so we would replace that site. And we don't have power at that site as well, so that's quite an inconvenience.
I just remembered it being there for 30 years, that's why I was asking.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and add this to the consent agenda for approval next week as well, Madam Clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Discuss a request for approval to accept $847,000 in funding provided through the Mid-Carolina Area Agency. Mr. Trout.
Thank you, Chairman. This grant application was provided and accepted. We need to have the board accept the new funding amount, $847,556. Various departments utilize this funding in order to provide services to our residents.
Questions? Pleasure of the board.
Consent.
Go ahead and add this to consent agenda as well, Madam Clerk. All right, discuss Board of Elections oversight and Harnett County Personnel Ordinance. Vice Chairman Morris, if you would, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam HR Director, could you come forward, please? I may have a couple of questions. Maybe you can help us with it, Mr. Trout.
That's never good.
Or would you rather me direct them to you?
Yeah?
You want me to direct them to you?
Do I?
You want me to direct the questions to you first?
Depends. I may be able to answer them, but.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I hope to be able to answer them as well.
Well, all right, here's the thing we're looking at, it's been brought to my attention. Our employees that work for the Board of Elections, they are political appointees, is that correct?
Well, they are county employees, and the general statute that they have says that the board can hire and fire those employees.
Okay. So they are in the legitimate sense, they are a political appointee, just like a deputy sheriff and a deputy clerk at the clerk's office and everything else. They are subject to personnel policy with the exception of the protections of right to reprimand and all of that.
Right. There's a memorandum of understanding, I think that was put in place last year, that the board directs disciplinary and personnel actions with the director, and all of the other employees, they will fall under the county HR department. So they would fall under our disciplinary policy.
Where I'm going with this is why are we affording those protections to this group of political appointees and not to the 400 other ones that we have in the sheriff's office, the clerk's office, and the register of deeds office?
Well, right now it's the same. So the sheriff's office and register of deeds has the same general statute that they can also hire and fire at will. And the sheriff's office usually takes that discretion if needed. Register of Deeds tends to lean more on the personnel ordinance in the HR department. So it seems to be different.
And the clerks are obviously state employees.
Yeah, and we don't handle anything with the clerk's office.
I was wondering how this MOU came about because I'd never heard of that. And I know most of your boards of elections across the state are at will or exempt employees. And
yeah.
That's why I was directing this to y'all to get a clarification
Right.
and understand that the the way I see this is they should be, and here comes Mr. Appel.
Yes, because we have the memorandum of understanding that we drafted last, or that they drafted, yes.
Ma'am,
They're not on the county, no way. I mean, they are.
that's true. So they, in my opinion, they should be exempt employees, naturally they would get retirement and health care and everything else that every other employee does, but they would be positioned like the deputy sheriffs and whatnot, where they work at the subject of the pleasure of the board.
And I think essentially that's how it was set up.
So the answer to your question is historically, prior to this MOU, that's the way it's always been done, is HR has always handled the personnel matters, and they've always been subject to the personnel ordinance except for the director of the elections. Based on some guidance from the State Board of Elections, they have suggested that all the counties, the Board of Commissioners, should enter into an MOU with their boards of elections outlining how personnel decisions would be handled. So we did the MOU last year that just put into writing what's been always done in practice of subjecting, other than the Board of Elections director, putting them under the personnel ordinance except for the grievance policy. Right. They've always been exempt from the grievance policy, and that's what's outlined in the MOU. Now, because it's the Board of Elections decision, so if they want to say that we don't want any of the personnel ordinance to apply, if they don't want the disciplinary action policy to apply, they can do that, and then the MOU would be amended, and then our personnel ordinance would be amended to exempt them as well. So it's always been a decision by the Board of Elections of what part of the personnel ordinance would apply to those employees.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I don't understand this. I really don't.
But what I'm looking at, Mr. is that if our Board of Elections, who are political appointees themselves, are going to run our election, regardless of party, they should have the authority to do whatever they need to do as far as managing their employees.
But my understanding is that is not decided by commissioners here, not a county. That is decided by the State Board of Elections.
The local Board of Elections has control over the employees. So again, the MOU is to memorialize what at the time what they wanted and what's always been in practice, and that is everyone but the director would fall under the personnel ordinance. But the local Board of Elections can say they're exempt from whatever portion of the personnel ordinance. They can say that the Board of Commissioners' role is funding the Board of Elections and the employees. But the Board of Elections has that choice to exempt them from the disciplinary action policy. They have that option.
I guess what I'm asking you is, if this MOU, the county awards this MOU to the employees, you're telling me that the Board of Elections has to withdraw this MOU and not us as the person who provides us?
Correct. The Board of Elections would have to either withdraw it, amend it, or make a recommendation to amend it. This MOU was just to memorialize what, again, by recommendation by the State Board of Elections, to establish what exactly are the Board of Election employees subject to, if anything, under county policies. But the Board of Elections has the authority to say they want all of it, none of it, or parts of a personnel ordinance to apply, and then you as a Board of Commissioners would just agree that that's what they'd be subject to. But it's the Board of Elections' choice of what their employees would be subject to under a personnel ordinance.
Okay, so what you're saying is it's their choice to decide whether they want the MOU or not, but we're the ones got to approve it.
Well, both parties have to agree to it. So think of us as the county is the contractor. We're contracted to provide personnel services. So you have to agree to do that. The Board of Commissioners can say, well, we just choose not to provide our HR department to assist in that, and the Board of Elections on their own. So you have authority to say, you have to agree to it.
The issue that occurred was that there was gray area. It was like nobody had it in writing as to who was responsible for what employees, how they would be handled. And so the State Board recommended that a written document, an MOU, be established and agreed to by both parties, both boards, in order to ensure that something was in writing so that staff understood how they were governed, what parts of their personnel policy applied to them and which ones didn't. And so at the time when this MOU was created, these were the decisions that were made by the Board of Elections, that this is the part that they would be covered by and this is the part that they wouldn't.
But why don't we let Allison speak? She's been the director for the last 4 years. and let us know exactly my understanding and what she understands and what we all understand from the county as well as from the state.
Why don't we just set it over for next week and then she can talk all she wants to in the public comments? Would that be okay with you?
I didn't hear you.
I said if we just leave this open until next week and we have a public comment session on the agenda, you can
I can
speak all
agree
you
with
like
that.
then. And that's my opinion. But that's-
Yeah.
You good with that?
I agree with that.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead and have a separate line item next week. We can go ahead and further on discussion on this topic.
Okay.
All good? Good. All right, County Mayor's report, Mr. Tripp.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to mention first that we have a very neat event going on in our building right now, a veterans event that has been coordinated with Congressman Knott's office, the VA administration, and our Veteran Services Department here, hopefully providing the necessary help to veterans to get access to their benefits that relate to their operations or their needs individually. Fourth quarter performance report was included in your packet. This ended the last fiscal year. We ended up with 38% of the tasks completed, 52% were still in process, and 10% were pending action. Assistant County Manager Mike Morrow has met with staff and provided these updates and then looked at what we want to change as we go into the next year and made those according the changes that we wanted to make. Also included in your packet was the budget calendar for the next year. Hard to believe that we're getting already set for that. In September, we'll be sending out the information regarding future capital improvement projects and begin that process with forms due on CIP in October. So hard to believe we're right around the corner. We did set up that we will shoot for having approval on the 1st of June with the budget, giving us time that if there were issues, we could postpone it 2 weeks and still be able to get it approved in the time frame. That's my report.
Outstanding. Thank you, sir. Do I have a need for closed session?
Sir, I move the board go into closed session for the following purposes: to consult with the county legal staff in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege concerning the handling of a certain claim. And a motion made pursuant to General Statute 143.318.1183.
A motion.
Second.
A motion and a second to go in closed session. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We will move into closed session. Reconvene. I'll call the meeting back to order. And
Motion to
entertain
adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
a motion and second to adjourn. We are adjourned.